Well, living with my father for 2 months taught me about my relationship with men. So, some of you may have known that I had to go back to Denmark, my home country, to take care of my parents who are having some health problems and also some kind of living arrangement problems. And I thought it was going to be kind of mainly about sorting out their care and their health, but also, of course, going back home means you get another chance to become aware of, I became aware of my own triggers, any unresolved issues I had. And a lot of the time, I've focused on my intention about my relationship with my mother. Um, but this time, I focused a lot more on my relationship with my father because it was clear that my mother was so far gone, like mentally, physically, that really I had to try to form a team with my dad to get my mum the kind of help that she needed. Uh, but this again brought up what I had my suspicions about, but I was confirmed that I was dealing with a man who, my father, who has a very avoidant way of dealing with life, with situations, and with relationships. So, kind of to tell you a little bit about the background with my dad, he's a scientist, he's a geologist, and he was a workaholic. He would work at least, 10 hours a day, at least 6 to 7 days a week, and on his work, studying rocks and scientific data on rocks. Um, I found during my time with him now, these 2 months, that he seemed to kind of run away whenever a decision needed to be made about um, taking my mom to the doctor or getting the right kind of care. Um, so he'd either run away, like physically remove himself from me, um, or he wouldn't kind of acknowledge that maybe there was a problem, or and this is in spite of the fact that my mom has had 5 falls in the past year. Now, that might not be such a bad thing for a younger, older person like him. He's like in his late 70s, but my mum is 92. So at her age, it's problematic. And she ended up in hospital a couple of times. And despite me encouraging him to get her to a checkup, he just would not do that. And when we did finally manage to get her to a checkup, my suspicions were confirmed. Anyway, back to my father, my relationship with my father. What did I learn? So he has a very avoidant way of dealing with things. He doesn't express his feelings or emotions. He seems to have a very flat expression on his face. Like he doesn't really show what's going on. It's quite kind of stoic and flat. I've noticed that he seems to struggle how to console people, especially my mum or me. He has a tendency to try and shut people down. So, he'll say to my mum, "Oh, calm down," rather than being able to address, the emotion or the issue at hand. The other thing I noticed about him, which was very interesting, was he needed my mum to lead. He needed my mum to tell him what to do. It's like he didn't know how to anticipate or understand her needs. Um, so, how can my mom, who has a mental health problem and is showing signs of dementia, lead my father to say to him, "Oh, can you take me to the doctor and get me a checkup?" Or, um, can we have some more help around the flat? Because, it's difficult to take care of the flat, and I don't feel comfortable, you know. So that was quite strange that he needed my mum, who's older than him, to take the lead. The other interesting thing I noticed was he was very conflict avoidant. So um, he would often say to me, "But well, we can't do that because your mum will just blow up." Um, so basically, anything to avoid confrontation. And an example of this was I came round to their flat one day and I noticed my mother was very dehydrated. And I was trying to convince her to drink more water. And he just started saying to me, "Shut up, shut up." And I turned to him and I looked him right in the eye and I said, "No, will not shut up. I will not allow my mother to end up in hospital again." And then I went back to persuading my mum to drink some water. And he grew quiet, but it's trying. I can see the pattern. He's trying to contain the situation without any conflict, without any drama. Um, And also, I would say, growing up with him, I really felt like I had to fight for his attention. It's like the rocks took precedence over me, like a living human being. And I'm going to give you a real example. I remember as a little girl, maybe 2, 3 years old, my dad and I are in my parents' main bedroom, where, by the way, all his paperwork is, right? And I'm sitting on his knee and we're sat at his desk and there's paperwork everywhere and he's writing something. And, I feel the warmth of his body. I can smell his scent. But he's turned away. He's holding me, but he's turned away from me writing. So I try to get his attention, I try to talk to him or pat him, and he will engage with me for a few seconds and then go straight back to work. And then again, so then I tried another tactic. I would try and grab the pen away from him. And then, of course, he'd get annoyed because so this sense of not being seen and not being made time for, not being a priority, really, I've noticed this is spilled onto my relationships now. Um, when I look at my last 3 relationships, I notice a pattern. Number one, the last 3 men that I attempted to have a relationship with were all workaholics. So they were all working 10, sometimes 12 or more hours a day, most days of the week, a good 6 to 7 days a week, if not every day. I didn't feel like I was a priority because a lot of the time they wouldn't make enough time for me. In my world, making enough time for one another is, at least 2 days a week, at least 2 days a week to try and establish some kind of emotional connection and start to learn about one another. But that wouldn't happen. It might be once a week, once a fortnight, once or twice a month at least. Um, a lot of the time, I found that with these guys, either appointments were canceled or shifted or moved around at the last minute. And there was never an apology for that, or a consideration that maybe my time is valuable as well. There was no attempt to offer, you know, something to make up for, you know, the disruption and the arrangement. They were also very emotionally unexpressive, very kind of flat expression in the face. They didn't really share their feelings. And I know at least like two of them, they're in, well, all three of them are in sort of energy work or personal development work. But what I found was actually they were sharing more about what they were thinking. It was the cognition. They were very much in their mental body. A lot of the time, it wouldn't feel like they were very physically present. Um, so eventually, when I did start asking for my needs to be met, what would happen is there would be an attempt to meet me, you know, and then they wouldn't be able to follow through. They wouldn't be able to be consistent. So what would then start happening is they would start ignoring me or stay away or try to sabotage, you know, arrangements that we would have. Like they would try and book their own customers on the day that maybe we would had planned to meet. And yeah, I just felt like a side note. I didn't feel prioritized, cared for, needed. And at the same time, I can see how they were self-sabotaging the situation. And also, there's something about me um, which I think triggered them. And I know myself. I am quite an emotional person. I can go very, very deep. You know, I mean, literally in very relaxed states. I can end up channeling through other lives, my past lives, and do some healing work through the body that way. And and also I felt triggered by being neglected. And when I think about this, and I've read a lot about avoidant attachment styles, you know, what is being reflected back to me? It's lack of emotional presence and availability, uh, which was going on that I experienced. But I believe they also experience lack of emotional availability from from their caregivers. And certainly, when I asked them about their lives, I could see that there was some common threads. First of all, you know, one person, one of their parents left when they were 3 years old. For another person, um, his mother was not very interactive with him. She was very withdrawn within herself. And I truly believe that when you have like a strange situation like that, when your parent isn't interacting with you, and if you're upset as a child and you're not getting that mirrored back to you, eventually as a child, you kind of give up, hoping, expecting that the parent will reflect back or validate your feelings. And so what happens is that a shutdown happens. And I feel like these men just shut down and just repressed their feelings. And I feel like their kind of mental abilities, they started focusing more on developing that. That's why they're so intellectually, mentally developed. And that side of themselves, that emotional side, that little child, I think just completely got neglected. A lot of them, I've noticed, they're not very much in their bodies. A lot of them have ended up with some health conditions, yeah, which you wouldn't normally find if you're being mindful of your body or taking care of it. So anyway, what have I learned from this, and what's the conclusion? Well, having spent time with my dad now 2 months trying to sort out my mum's care, I've noticed that actually I find this behavior of his, and I'm only looking at the behavior. I'm not judging him as a person. He is very caring and he wants to do the right thing. He really, really does. It's just he doesn't know how to. But I do find the behavior annoying now. I don't find it fulfilling emotionally, not being able to connect emotionally with someone. I don't feel like I truly got to know who they really were on the inside. The very few occasions when they did let their guard down was actually really beautiful. You know, I saw their true self, their inner child, and it was beautiful. And I hope in future that they find a way to resolve this situation and not be afraid to show who they truly are. Um, and also, I saw the fear in their eyes. Um, it's a very poignant look, and I'm a clairsentient, so I pick up on feelings a lot, and I felt their fear of getting too close, and that's a sad situation to be in. That's sad. That's really sad. So for me, what have I been doing about this? Well, I've been asking myself, well, where am I emotionally unavailable for me? Where am I being emotionally not present for myself? Yeah. And so I've been focusing more on kind of nourishing my body, slowing down and being more present with what's going on inside of me in the moment. Because I felt very much with these avoidant men, there seemed to be this kind of switch happening, like focus. I felt like I would focus away from myself and focus on them. So in a strange way, they became a focus of getting my nourishment or energy or power from, rather than centering here within me and realizing I have that power, I have that nourishment within me. So whenever I've slowed down these days, I'm noticing a lot more about how do I feel about the interaction that I'm having with people. And yes, I have a lot of intuition. In fact, I did actually know that the last person was emotionally unavailable. There were quite a few signs which I picked up on, and yet I still tried to push it. I still tried to form a connection, try to see if I could establish a relationship when really it was pointless. It's, you know, both myself and the other person still have and had a lot of healing to do, and so it really wasn't very healthy. And I think that's why there can be often be a very kind of addictive feeling in these sorts of relationships, because you've often got an avoidant attachment style being very attracted to more anxious or fearful avoidance styles that are more kind of emotionally expressive. So it's almost like um, we're seeking something in the other that perhaps we lack. So I think one of the benefits of avoidance is they are more detached. I don't want to be that detached, but I think a level of detachment can be good in the sense of stepping back and looking at situations. They can certainly learn from the anxious and fearful on perhaps being more expressive, although I wouldn't necessarily say that the anxious, fearful types have a necessarily the best communication style. Yeah, so I would work on that. Um, Really, this is about becoming secure within myself, yeah, within ourselves, and being more present, being more emotionally present for ourselves. Unfortunately for me, because I've had so many of these types of relationships in recent years, it's really affected my health. And I'm now working on healing my health. And as I learn, I will share with you guys, because it's not just about emotional healing. Even having done karmic clearing work between myself and this person, even beyond karma, there's another level that has to be looked at, and it's nervous system regulation. So, you know, if it's getting to the point like it got with me, where my nervous system became so dysregulated that I was so anxious about this situation that I didn't sleep for 2 weeks. It completely shut down my gut, and a lot of, I developed an autoimmune condition, which is kind of interesting in itself, autoimmune. It's where our immune system, aka boundaries, healthy boundaries, gets really kind of complicated and confused. And your immune system starts attacking parts of you and your body that it confuses for a bug or a virus of some sort, or so yeah, a lot of healing the gut, um, regulating the nervous system. And actually, I've decided, you know, I am so consciously aware and protective of my body now that I cannot allow anybody, another avoider, into my life. It's now a matter of my health. And I value my health so much now that I've decided I'm going to take it slower at the beginning, getting to know people and really slowing down and feeling, well, how do I feel about them? Rather than focusing, well, how do they feel about me? Are they showing interest? Yeah, because I remember that kind of joyous, more fun, playful, energetic, physically fit self of me. That echo still resonates within me, and I'm looking forward to getting her back and traveling the world. The world is such an amazing place. I literally have been seeing visions, videos in my mind's eye of waterfalls, water, sunshine, and just swimming and being in the water, being fluid. So that's my dream. The great news is I actually am in a position to just be able to go where I want. I have a business that allows me to work from wherever I need to be. So I am set up for that. So Machu Picchu, here I come. I'm going to build my strength up and my flexibility, inner and physical, and allow myself to create that more magical life. And if someone comes along and they are grounded within themselves, they are emotionally connected with themselves, and they're willing to form a partnership, great. But if this person is not on their soul purpose, not living it, not grounded, sorry, not for me. Not for me. I wish you well, but not for me. That was a long spiel, but I felt like I needed to express that. I hope that with me sharing, you guys will have an opportunity to reflect back your relationships with men, and hopefully take something away from this. And that is, nobody can fill the empty void within you except for you. And actually, there is no void, because you always have that connection to your God spark. It's just you've forgotten it. You have disconnected from it. So it is about reconnecting to that. Okay, I am going to say over and out now. Wishing you all a wonderful